got a problem with the freehub having 3 millimeters of lateral play, which makes it impossible to properly index. The problem, however, only became apparent after I changed the cassette and chain, both Shimano 105 components. This was originally a Shimano 105, 11 to 32. Anyway, let's have a look at the problem. I've just got this finger tight. I'll leave it that way for you guys. So again, we can see the 3 millimeter play in the freehub. Now I'll just loosen this end cap off. It's a left-hand thread. The only marking I can see on this is where it says loosen, indicating it's a left-hand thread. And here's what the actual problem is. You can see that this thread is supposed to tighten onto this thread here. Okay, I'll call this beastie the sheath, axle sheath, I don't know what its technical name is. With the end cap, you can see you've got a thread going in around about 4 millimeters. Okay, so I'm pointing there to the original black thread, and then you can see where somebody has very cleverly machined a coarser, bigger thread. I think the pitch is probably a bit bigger because I think the distance between the threads is further apart than it is further in. So if you've got problems here in that when this gets put on the sheath as tightly as it can, as in that's a whole half turn, okay? 1 half turn is the maximum that I can tighten that up, which leaves this about 3 millimeters too high, means that I have to spread the chainstays a little bit to be able to get the wheel into position. Of course, what should be happening is that with many end caps, they don't actually have any thread, they just rely on friction because you have the through axle holding it into position. So what I'd like to get done is get an end cap that the bike should have been sold with. It'll need to have the same dimension from there to there, and that way I'll be able to have the wheel fitting neatly into the chainstays and be tightened up with the through axle. This, if it can screw down the further 3 millimeters that would happen if this thread properly matched that thread, then that will be enough to stop the freehub going outbound, going in the upward direction when it's on its side. And that would then mean that I will have this freehub, which I've cleaned out, by the way, guys. I've left it unlubricated for your convenience. Come on, I'll just get the pawls tucked out of the way so I can get it back in. Okay, in other words, if this can be either screwed in the whole way or you machine the thread out of the way, don't know how you're going to achieve this, but this needs to lightly hold the freehub into position without being so tight that it interferes with, that it introduces friction when coasting. And if you can get that to happen, then I'll be a happy boy. And it'll be fixing up the bike so that it is now the way it should have been sold to me. Don't know why there wasn't a problem in the first place. It may have been that the spoke guard, which was removed after a 1-year service, was keeping it in place. The other thing is that the chain rings are a bit on the outboard side. They're not lined up with the centre of the cluster. They're around about 2 or 3 cogs outbound. In other words, there all the time would have been a pull, so that this hub is pulling outwards, which explains why the limit screw is set up so that you can only get into the largest cog when this is actually pulled to the outside. But certainly since I have fixed up the since I have replaced the chain and the cluster, I've now got it so that this slides so freely that I cannot remotely get it to reliably shift. Cheers, thanks.